Those two mics and seats are for you guys, if you want them.
Good to go?
At this time.
I'd like to call this regular town council meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
You may. Counselor Bracken,
Present.
Counselor Danforth,
Here.
Chair Dumais,
Here.
Counselor Galib, I believe is excused.
Correct?
Counselor Higgins,
Here.
Counselor Madore,
Here.
Counselor Pelletier.
Here. Thank you. Can I please have everyone uncover and join me in the pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of America. I think for which you stand, nation under God, indivisible,
Liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Hi, there it is. We would like to move the resolves to the front of the order, please, front of the agenda.
Thank you. We'll make that happen.
And also, if I may, there's an additions to orders 311 for the events committee.
Order number 311 to the events committee and the committee proposal is noted. Can we get the approval of the minutes for September 8th, 2022?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion made by Council Bragdon, seconded by Councilman Madore. Any discussion from the council? Down to the public. Back to the council. Roll call vote, please. Councilor Higgins,
Aye.
Councilor Madore,
Aye.
Councilor Danforth,
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier,
Aye.
Councilor Bragdon.
Aye.
Chair Dumais is an aye, it's unanimous. We will move to resolve number 6, a proclamation honoring Rick Williger. Councilor Bragdon, would you please read?
Resolve numbers.
Resolve number 6, 2022, proclamation honoring Richard Wilgard for his service at the Millinocket Public Works. Whereas Richard began his career with the Millinocket Public Works on November 12, 2002, and retired on October 3rd, 2022. And whereas Richard served the citizens of the town of Millinocket with integrity and respect. And whereas Richard represented the community in a professional manner during his time of employment at the Millinocket Public Works. And whereas the Millinocket Town Council wants to thank Richard for his years of devoted service to the people of Millinocket and to wish him well in his new endeavors. Now therefore be it resolved that the Millinocket Town Council in council assembled on December 8th, 2022, does hereby recognize, honor, and congratulate Richard Wilgar for his dedicated service to the people of Millinocket during his employment at the Millinocket Public Works Department.
Thank you. Thank you. Resolve made by Bragdon and seconded by Councilor Madore. Council discussion. Councilor Madore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, the town is losing a valuable member of our service body. And certainly he will be missed greatly. He is, and like many others that work in our service industry and public works and that, he embodies a spirit of can do, always has, always will, always with a smile on his face, always with a good professional attitude, and always willing to go a little extra for the town of Millinocket. I applaud him on his retirement to be able to go ahead and take some time away and enjoy the fruits of his labor as such. But I do think the town will miss his multifunctional ability to be a problem solver and to be a great worker for the town. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council Madore. Any of our other councilors via Zoom? Thank you, councilors. present. And Ms. Campbell, would you, sorry. Ms. Lakeman, sorry about that. Strike that from the record. Would you please, Council Bragan will come down and do the honors.
Rick, if I could have you at the front, there are any pictures, which I don't see any need yet, but you can most certainly turn to Cat TV.
Yes. Thank you.
Another one. Well, we'd like to snap a picture so we can. Oh.
Yes, that's good. I'm just a little bit closer. Thank you, guys.
Great to meet you. Photo bomb from this position.
So I'll take this, I'll get all the signatures for you.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to thank the town of Millinocket for the
You'll need to-
opportunity to work for the town. It's been a pleasure. It was short and
Thank
sweet
you.
with me, but I really appreciated that.
Take care.
If you want to say anything, go right ahead to the mic.
Once again, thank you, Mr. Williger. Resolve number 7. 2022 proclamation honoring Ralph Associating. Councilor Pelletier, will you please read?
Certainly resolved number 7-2022. Proclamation honoring Ralph Susi on his retirement as the Public Works Director of the town of Millinocket. Whereas Ralph Susi began his career as Deputy Public Works Director on May 21st, 2007, and continued in that capacity until April 18, 2011, when he became the Public Works Director for the town of Millinocket and retired on December 1st, 2022. Whereas Ralph always served citizens of Millinocket with enthusiasm and integrity and performed his duties throughout his years of service in a conscientious and responsible manner. And whereas Ralph has consistently responded with ingenuity, imagination, and foresight to the duties and responsibilities given him, fulfilling them with outstanding accuracy and competency. And whereas Ralph has set an example of dedication to principle which has been an inspiration to his fellow employees. And whereas Ralph in all his endeavors has reflected great credit upon the town of Millinocket and its employees. Now therefore be it resolved that the Millinocket Town Council and Council assembled on December 8, 2020 does hereby recognize, honor, and thank Ralph for his dedication to the town of Millinocket during his tenure as Public Works Director.
Second.
Motion made by Council Pelletier, seconded by Councilor Bragdon. Do we have any council comment via Zoom? Councilor Madore first, please.
Oh, I yield to the young lady also out of the room.
Councilor Danforth.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Madore. It's hard from this vantage point to talk to the audience and talk to anybody because we can't see them. But I've had the privilege of the last 2 years being on the council, working with Ralph, or maybe Ralph was working with me as I was trying to move some things forward around the bike and pedestrian safety study and the Imagine People Here project. And I just want to let you know, I just really appreciate your support and all that you have done and trying to make our community safer and addressing some of the concerns. And as far as I'm concerned, you've gone above and beyond in your role. And I haven't had the privilege of working with you that long, but the time that I've had, you're certainly dedicated employee. So you will be missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Danforth. Councilor Madore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. An employee or a gentleman or a person like Ralph with the integrity, knowledge, compassion, positivity doesn't come along that often. We've had the opportunity to watch over the years as Ralph was, we were very fortunate first and foremost that Ralph was there to step in when Dennis Cox got done and take the Public Works Department to basically new heights in being able to handle great deal of tasks with a very small workforce and make it look easy. Ralph has worn a lot of hats for the town. And I think it's going to be a situation where I wish Brian in his role as Public Works Director, all the luck in the world, but Ralph has left big shoes for you to fill. And I just think that town of Millinocket and the community and the people of Millinocket are extremely lucky that we had Ralph Susi for as long as we've had him, being able to serve the people of the town of Millinocket. I thank Ralph for his service. I wish him the best in retirement. And it's going to seem odd for a while not to see Ralph around at public meetings and things like that, informing the council of all the things that we do not know, about all the things that we do not know about. Being the jack of all trades that he is. So Ralph, congratulations. You will be missed, my friend. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Dorr. Council Pelletier?
I certainly echo my fellow councilors' comments, and really, Ralph, have gone above and beyond, really saved the community a lot of money, a lot of times. Always there with an answer, so thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, Council Pelletier. Council Bragdon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To both of you, I like to say this when everybody retires, enjoy yourselves. Go on a beach somewhere. Don't answer your phone because I'm sure you'll get called. But thank you both seriously for everything that you have done.
Thank you, and I'm gonna keep it brief myself. I worked for Ralph up at the transfer station for a brief time and up in the cemetery for a brief period of time. And I'll tell you what, the town will be sorely lacking in finding somebody with the temperament that he has and the experience that he has, because to wear that burden that the public can give to you and in the supermarkets or when you're on your day off or anything else like that. So you're certainly going to be missed for the town. You and your service has been a backbone of the community, and I'd like to thank you as well. So with that, Ms. Lakeman, would you present?
Just the public hearing comments.
Yeah, I'm gonna go down to the public. I'm gonna actually go back to the public on number 6 as well. And we're gonna go to a vote. I forgot we didn't vote on the last one as well. So if you just do that presentation, then I'm gonna open it up to the public. And then the public can speak on both of the retirees.
Who's giving this one a Ralph? Louis? Do you want to come on?
Yes.
That as well.
So we're gonna go down to the public for comment on number 6, Mr. Williger's retirement, and number 7, Ralph's retirement.
Jeff Campbell, Airport Manager. Had the pleasure of working with both of these gentlemen as I used to be a Department of Public Works. Very much, I had a lot of good interactions with Rick for sure. Very good operator, very good guy to deal with, always level-headed, never got excited. Everything worked out good with, having Rick help you with projects. And as far as Ralph goes, I very much enjoyed working for Ralph at my time with Public Works running the airport. And he definitely helped me get to where we are today with an independent department and transfer of airport management. It's working out good. It's working out the way it should, and Ralph was a big part of that. And I've worked for several people over my career, and I never had a guy that would let me do the job like he did. He didn't pretend to know the job to its fullest extent, and he let the people that did know the job do the job, and that's greatly appreciated on my part. I very much enjoyed working for him, and he's still a great resource and was a great resource for me even today. So thank you, Ralph, and thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Anybody else from the public want to speak on resolve 6 or 7? Ms. Legman?
Thank you.
That's gonna be awkward.
Let's go.
Diana Lakeman, Town Clerk. I would like to address Ralph as well. He was really great to work with, and he really does go above and beyond for all departments of the town, not just the town itself. So on behalf of the town department heads, I would like to say thank you for everything that you and your crew has done. Not just for elections division or merely getting us transfer site stickers when the public demands them, but the little things are as great as the big things. So thank you, Ralph, and congratulations to Brian and also Rick.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These two guys in the back have had incredible careers with Millinocket, and only with me for a short time, but whatever bizarre request I had from a member of the public or from the staff or just from myself spitballing ideas, the efficiency was it was incredible. From thought conception to we've got trees planted in the park and we need to water them somehow. Within 24 hours, sometimes the same day, just the solution was there. And on top of these two fellas in the back here, we had a third retiree this fall, Terry Wilson, after, the same range, 30 some odd years, 38, I think, maybe. That type of career length and dedication in one employer is unheard of these days. And the dedication that all three of these men have showed the town is just absolutely incredible. So I have great respect for all three of them. I worked much more closely with Mr. Susi, and I wish them all the absolute very best that can come to them in their retirement. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. If that's all from the public, I'd like to move for a roll call vote on number 7, and then we're gonna go back and vote on number 6 because I forgot. So roll call vote on number 7, resolve. Council Madore,
Aye.
Council Danforth,
Aye.
Council Higgins,
Aye.
Council Pelletier,
Aye.
Council Bragdon,
Aye.
Chairman Dume, aye. Now back to resolve number 6. Vote, roll call, all in favor. Council Madore,
Aye.
Council Danforth,
Aye.
Council Higgins,
Aye.
Council Pelletier,
Aye.
Council Bragdon,
Aye.
and Council Dume is also an aye, Chairman, sorry. All right. On to our. All right, we'd like to move to special presentation of the municipal data across sectors for health. Presentation.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can I just preface, sort of introduce them before?
Absolutely, Council Danforth, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to let people know that you're going to hear this wonderful, I say wonderful presentation, very informative presentation from our M-Dash consultants team. But they've been working with the age-friendly committee since springtime, and we're going to have them into next year. So this is just a tip of the iceberg. I'm not going to say much about what you're going to talk about. I'm going to let you tell everybody what you're talking about. But I just wanted to make sure our community members knew that it is part of the work of the age-friendly committee. And if anybody is so inspired after they hear some of the work that we're doing and want to become involved, please let me know, reach out to me, reach out to the manager, and he can let me know and we can pull you in to this very important work of the age-friendly committee. So I will turn it over. I know either Jess or Larry, you were going to take him from there.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. I'll kick things off and give the group an introduction as to what M-Dash is all about. And then Epi, the other consultant on the project, is going to go through your dashboard, the dashboard that's been prepared for the town of Millinocket. And then a combination of Jess and Jane will kind of wrap things up, bring everything together, talk about some of the areas of focus for your community. So really, M-Dash, and that stands for municipal data across sectors in health. It really got its origins back in 2019 when the Maine Council on Aging collaborated with the Maine Municipal Association on convening a variety of stakeholders that included municipal officials from around the state leaders, some aging services providers, with the goal of trying to identify strategies that'll help grow, strengthen, and support municipal efforts to ensure that older adults can age well in their homes and communities. That's, as you're probably aware, not a challenge that's unique to Millinocket. Pretty much every community in the state is wrestling with that, with Maine being the oldest state in the country. So a lot of that process is data driven, and that's the emphasis of M-Dash, is rather than working on initiatives and priorities that you think might be a need. We come in and we work with your task force on generating the data to help demonstrate where the needs truly are and make data-driven decisions. I can tell you that we've worked with 6 different communities around the state since M-Dash started. Smaller communities like Millinocket, or I should say rural communities, and also communities like South Portland, so more metropolitan urban areas. And I would say each of those municipalities has, when they look at the data, either said, yep, this supports what we thought the issues were, but in many cases, it was like, wow, there is no data here to really support what we think the problems were. Look over here, there's definitely a need in this area. And so, you know, they found the data, the information to be very helpful. So in your case, you have an excellent task force, a very diverse group that we've been working with since February. Councilor Danforth, Councilor Pelletier, Peter Jameson has been attending some of the meetings. You really have a great group there, and they've made a lot of progress very quickly. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Epi, let her go through the dashboard that's been prepared for your community, and we'll go from there.
Hi, everybody. I'm Effie Rourke. I'm the consultant with the Maine Council on Aging on the M-Dash project. And my main role with this project has been sort of collecting and compiling and then presenting the data for each of our communities. So give me just a moment here to share my screen. And all right, away we go. So we'll share this out afterwards too. And Jane has seen this presentation at this point, and we also have a PDF we can share with you. So if you missed something along the way here, don't don't worry, we will, you'll have a copy of this. So I want to just share some sort of basic demographic data, some income data. We got housing information, all kinds of stuff from the US Census. So this is pretty much all publicly available. There are a few data points that we have that were a little harder to track down, but most of this is US Census data, and it really is just, you know, digging through the American Community Survey reports and their data and then putting it together. So as Larry said, some communities have been surprised at what the data has shown, and other ones not so much. So as we go through this, our typical approach has been to compare each community to their county as sort of just a way of, you know, saying what's going on in your immediate surrounding area, and then also to the state of Maine as a whole. And then occasionally we compare the towns to each other, but that I think has somewhat less utility. So as we go through this, Millinocket data is in dark blue, Penobscot County is in red, and the state of Maine is that teal color. So this is just a snapshot of your age distribution and demographic breakdown. You can see that for the 65 and older category, Millinocket has quite a higher percentage of older people than both the surrounding county and the state as a whole. And then fewer of the 18 to 64 age group, which we affectionately call working age, although we know that lots of people work certainly before they're 18 and long after age 64. So I will forge ahead here to get to the really good stuff, which is further in the presentation. Millinocket does have a significantly older median age than the surrounding area and the state of Maine. Just all the more relevant for why working on issues that impact older people is especially important. We also looked at the sort of how your demographics have changed over the last 10 or 12 years. So this is just comparing numbers from the 2010 census to the 2020 census. And you can see that all of the population growth for Millinocket has occurred in the 60 plus category. So you can see these are just the hard numbers there of how much each category has changed in the last 10 or 12 years. And then the 80 and older, we see this in every town. Either folks are moving away, they need additional care that's not available, or potentially they've passed away. So, you know, we see here again, the relevance of this for your community is important. The next thing that we've looked at is sort of income, economic security, how much are older people living on, how much do they have to live on? So this is sort of an interesting story here. You can see that the median household income, this is for all households, not just older people, for Millinocket is quite a bit lower, but the mean retirement income is quite a bit higher. And retirement income here is everything except Social Security. So this does not include Social Security. And, you know, Jane and the task force have talked about their guesses for why this number might be so much higher. So Jane, can I just ask you to share a sentence or two about what you guys have sort of concluded about this number and why you think it's higher?
Probably Councilor Pelletier can share more because he's is more knowledgeable about it. But we were postulating that it was because of our retirees that still had pensions and that were still alive and living out their pensions from the Great Northern days.
Yeah, that was a very good guess. I wanted to ask you to share that, Jane, because I don't want to make guesses about your community, but that was what they thought, that these are folks with high retirement incomes who had pensions back when pensions still existed. Looking specifically at older people who are not doing as well, you can see that Millinocket has a slightly lower percentage of people 65 and older who are below the federal poverty line, and then sort of you know, right in between percentage on 65 and older with Medicaid. However, the story is very, very different for men and women, and we see this in every county. In every community that we've worked in. We know that older women have significantly less financial resources than older men for a variety of reasons. Pay is lower. Women are more likely to have taken time off from their careers to have kids or provide caregiving services for other family members. And then you know, they carry that lower financial asset into retirement and beyond. So you can see here for older people below the federal poverty line, the percentage of women is a lot higher. Look at the gap here between men and women in Millinocket. And this is a little bit easier to see on the PDF that I'll share. That's sort of a spreadsheet instead of a chart. But the gap is really, really large. So most of the folks who are below the federal poverty line are going to be older women. The next resource I want to share with you, I'm going to have to stop sharing and reshare here, so give me just a moment, is something called the Elder Economic Security Index. And this is just a neat tool that you can look at. It does not have local level data, but it does have counties. So we're going to look up Penobscot County here. And what this is a resource that shows how much money an older person would need to be able to get by. So we're going to set Penobscot County, and then I'm going to put it on a single person. I'm going to set all three of these in good health. And you can sort of play around with this if you'd like. I don't know if it's gonna, hold on, I'm gonna stop sharing and see if that helps it work, and then I'll reshare once we have answers. So this is a tool that we've included for all of our communities on again, how much an older person would need to get by in your community. So here we go. I'm not going to focus on this. I'm going to come right down here. So you can see again, and this is nothing extra. This is not, you know, not putting money into savings. This is not going to a movie. This is like bare bones budget. So for an older person in Penobscot County in good health, who is single and they rent, they would need this much money, $26,496 a year to survive. You can see it's slightly higher with a mortgage and slightly lower if they have paid off their house or don't have a mortgage. And then you can see sort of the breakdown here. I think that this is interesting because to me, it's still really wrong, right? I don't know many places that have $775 rent still. Certainly in 2022, that would be hard to find. But you know, this sort of gives you an idea. So if folks are living on less than this, they are definitely not going to be making ends meet. They might be having to make difficult choices between medical bills, utility bills, buying food, etc. So that's, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because the website is in the slide deck, and you'll be able to sort of play with it yourself if you're interested. Let me reshare my slides. So now we know what the Elder Economic Security Index is. This slide is very complicated, but it sort of overlays those numbers with the income qualifications for other programs. So down here at the bottom, you can see those three numbers that we just talked about. This is the number that they would need to live on for these conditions, whether they have a mortgage or not, etc. And then these three lines here show what the federal poverty level is, what the Medicaid income limit is, and what the SNAP income limit is. So for instance, you can see that if somebody is single with a mortgage and in good health, they need about $30,000 a year to survive in Penobscot County. That is $5,000 more than would allow them to qualify for SNAP. So these are folks who are not qualifying for SNAP, they're not qualifying for Medicaid, etc. The only person here who would qualify is a single, no mortgage, good health. They might be able to qualify for SNAP on a budget of $22,000. The point of this is just sort of the mismatch between, you know, what we all know this to be true, the mismatch between what it actually costs to survive and live somewhere versus the very low income amounts that often are required in order to qualify for any help. We also looked at where older people live as far as who they live with. Are they living alone? Are they with a spouse? Are they, you know, are they living with other family members? And we found that 41% of older people in Millinocket live alone. About 22% of them live with a spouse. And of those folks who own their house, almost all of them do not have a mortgage. So 64% don't have a mortgage, 36% do have a mortgage. This impacts the stuff we just talked about. Obviously, if you still have a mortgage, then you have sort of less flexibility in your monthly finances to pay for other things. And then 18% of older people in Millinocket are renting. We also look at the age of the housing stock. Maine has some of the oldest housing stock in the country. That certainly is true for your community as well. You can see here that this is a weird graph to look at. I realize that now. Of older people in Millinocket, most of them do live in a house that's at least 30 years old, and a good chunk live in a house that's 50 or more years old. So that could potentially inform, you know, what types of projects you might want to work on, or things like home repair and keeping people in their homes longer, but making them able to age in those houses. We also look at food insecurity. This is a little bit tricky because there's not great local level numbers, but there are state level numbers. Feeding America estimates that about 5% of people over the age of 60 in Maine are food insecure. So, you know, if you can extrapolate that to your community, we can estimate about how many people that is. We also do reach out, and people like Jane and others on the task force have been helpful in connecting us with, you know, local food pantries and emergency food providers to get a better touch on these numbers, but this is just a hard data point to track. Food insecurity. This is from the most recent State of Senior Hunger from Feeding America. Again, oh, yep, sorry, I can't see you guys when I have my screen shared, so if you have a question, definitely just jump in.
I just heard something, so I just wanted to check.
All right, I don't see anybody, I don't see any hand. Okay, we're gonna forge ahead. This is from that report that showing that the rate of food insecurity among seniors from 2019 to 2020 did not change dramatically. Some of that is because of, you know, all of the waivers and expanded program provisions that we saw. And then some of it also is, you know, just that it probably worsened for others and got better for different folks, and then ended up sort of equalizing over the course of that year. I'm going to skip this map. However, the census does have information about SNAP participation. So this is for households receiving SNAP that contain at least one person over the age of 60. You can see that Millinocket's number is slightly lower. This does not necessarily mean that there's less people in need in Millinocket, because SNAP participation, especially among older people, is not where it could be, meaning that lots of folks who qualify for the program don't actually enroll in it. So that's another thing that we talk about with each community, is sort of the low-hanging fruit of intervention for older people, but really for all people, is to enroll them in, you know, just make sure that they're already signed up for benefits that they qualify for, because it doesn't cost any extra money, and it's not any extra sort of work to get, you know, just connect people with benefits that they already are eligible for. Other food assistance programs that might be relevant are CSFP. This is often called senior food boxes, Meals on Wheels, congregate dining is an important one, and then, you know, food banks and food pantries. And like I said, we are connecting with local resources there. Looking at health, the census has some limited data on health and disability. About 17% of older people in Millinocket are living with at least one of these types of disabilities, and then about 10% report having 2 or more disabilities. So again, sort of layering this data with, maybe you have an older housing stock, you have a certain amount of older people who live alone, and then you have older people reporting disabilities. Maybe all of that leads to thinking about home initiatives in a different way, or thinking about adult daycare in a different way, something like that. Here's the breakdown of those disabilities. You can see the vast majority are in ambulatory difficulty, so just in getting around. Again, maybe that could inform if folks are living in an older house that has lots of stairs, and they're having trouble getting around. Obviously, that's sort of a mismatch, and could potentially negatively impact their quality of life. The data that is not from the census, we get data from the state EMS that provides information about the calls going into 911 and the responses and what those calls were for. Almost 3/4 of EMS calls in Millinocket last year were for older people. And of those calls for older people, about 1/3 were for a fall. So we analyze this, every single call we look at. There is a little bit of wiggle room here because there's human judgment in how the dispatcher codes something, and how it gets written down, and then how I interpret it. So don't take this as like hard numbers, but it's as close as we can get. So of those falls calls, most of yours are happening in the 60 to 69 age group. So maybe that's, somewhere that you could focus. Obviously, this is something that South Portland has chosen to focus on. And with you guys, with 3/4 of your EMS calls are for older people and 1/3 of those are for falls, maybe that's something that could potentially have some really impactful results for your members of your community, but also maybe on your EMS budget, if you're able to reduce falls, or reduce, if it's the same person having multiple incidences, which I'm sure your town office or your town, fire chief would know, like, yep, it's that same guy that calls every month or something. This is another sort of mapping tool I'm not going to spend a ton of time on, but the Social Vulnerability Index focuses on a community's resilience to something like a natural disaster. And this is a snapshot. The website is up there at the top. And again, I'll share the slide deck so you guys can play with it yourselves if you'd like. But Millinocket's SVI score is sort of medium high, and they rank this on a whole bunch of things. They take, 16 or 20 different factors, and they kind of come up with a score. The interesting thing about this is that you can map, and that's what I've done here. You can map nursing homes, hospitals, daycares, schools, things like that. So you can sort of, you can look at this different ways. You can look at it all the way down at the census tract level. You can look at it as a county. So this is sort of a neat thing. And like I said, you can layer on these different important community resources. Jane, if it's okay with you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stop sharing. I'm gonna skip the last few slides here because I assume that they've seen this, but if they haven't, I'm happy to forge ahead.
I think you can forge ahead. I'm not sure that they've seen it. It was done a while ago, but.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is just, it's only 3 slides.
You're no longer in presentation mode.
Oh, I'm not. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I'm doing Zoom and PowerPoint all at the same time here. So this is some screenshots from a survey that was done, the Greater Katahdin Transportation Needs Assessment. This was with older people. Jane, can you remind me what year this was done?
So this was either 2000, I want to say 2016, and with the Maine Center on Aging helped us with this. 2015, 2006. So yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, a little out of date, but we've seen similar surveys done in other communities with similar questions, and the results are not that different. So even though it's an older survey, I think a lot of the results are probably still very relevant. 80% of respondents reported that they didn't go somewhere because of transportation. They didn't know about transportation resources. Obviously, winter in Maine is the most challenging time to not have that.
So it's 2018, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Some memories coming back to me. I believe it's 2018, so not quite as old.
Yeah, great. I think the interesting part here is the breakdown of where older people said they were not able to go because they didn't have transportation. So grocery shopping, social activities, food pantry, and then you can sort of see it trickles on down from there. And Jane, I think you have the whole copy of this, right?
Yes, I certainly do. And the reason that we started Mobilize Katahdin, wanted to start a transportation program, was because of the result of some of these findings, this transportation program. So,
yep. And so this is, the On your dashboard, which I'll share in just a moment, the census has a little bit of limited data about the number of older people who don't have access to a vehicle. So in place of that very limited data, we use these survey results instead to do provide some information about transportation. You can see that the biggest reason that folks didn't have it was because they couldn't afford the car or the vehicle expenses. And then the third one there, do not have someone to drive me. Jess talks all the time about sort of volunteer driver programs, potentially, your task force has expressed interest in lots of different things, but, transportation could be another one that could be important for older people in your community. And then, 8 out of 10 participants felt that their lives would be better improved by having better access to transportation, and that it would, it's not just about getting to and from somewhere, it's also about the feeling of freedom, not feeling so isolated, and not having, especially if they're relying on other people, not having to feel like they're sort of living on a schedule of when transportation is available. All right, so with that, I'm going to spend like 5 more minutes, I promise, and I'm going to share your deep dive dashboard, and I'm going to try to not overwhelm you here because this is a lot. All right, so this is this dashboard has all the same data that you just saw, plus a whole lot more. So just to orient you to what you're looking at here, the column closest to the topic is going to be for Millinocket. The middle column is for Penobscot County. The furthest column over here is for the state of Maine. So it's those same 3 that we had before. And then if you're really bored and have lots of free time and you want to look up these numbers yourself, here's the actual sort of census report codes if you ever feel like you need to do that. So I'm not going to spend a bunch of time here on the actual numbers. I just want to orient you to the sections of this dashboard. So the first section really focuses on that age breakdown. How many young people do you have? How many old people do you have? How many men and women in some of those categories, etc. And then it also includes a really important point here. So Jess, I'm teeing you up to do what I always do, which is to talk about the ratio of working age to older adults. And for this purpose, we define working age as 18 to 64 compared with the number of 65 and older folks. So Jess, if you'll take it away on this point for just a moment.
Well, this is one of the points that we look at is, and I'm certain that many of you know this, that we have sort of a severe and pervasive and ongoing workforce shortage generally, but specifically related to our ability to be able to find home care workers. And the majority, 86% of workers, home care workers in Maine are women. And so they are also, by the way, the majority, vast majority of about the same percentage actually of our informal caregivers. And so when we are looking at, for instance, the health of a community generally, right? So we're looking at 1.46 ratio of, so that's 1.5 working age people to almost 3.5 people who are over the age of 65. And so one of the things we say is, so that's going to be problematic if you need care. You are either going to take a worker out of the workforce to become an informal caregiver, or that person may need to move away from your community who needs care. And that it's a number we look at in relation to how are you going to continue to drive your economy. So this is a lot about economic development with your workforce in relation to the number of people ultimately who are continuing to live in your community who are going to need care. We look at the women specifically because those are the folks who are very likely going to be the caregivers either formally or informally. And so in communities, some of the communities we've been working with, they're under one working age woman, 2, 3, or 4 people over the age of 65. So it's just a data point we look at to see how are things going, and should you be a little bit worried. And this number is pretty low for the statewide average and also the county average.
Yep. Thank you, Jess. And I put, for that point specifically, I put the sentence for how to read it over here in the sources, so that when you're looking back at this later, you just plug in that number. So for every older adult, there are 1.46 working age adults in Millinocket. So you just plug in the number there, and that's how to interpret it.
That's right, because I said that wrong. Sorry about that.
That's a tricky one. So we often spend a little more time on that. The last section here on your demographics is looking at the racial and ethnic breakdown. You guys are, most of Maine is pretty white, and Millinocket is certainly no exception to that. The next section looks at income. These are some more of those points from the census. So, median household income, mean household income. Here's that Social Security and retirement numbers. These teal boxes on here are just data points I thought was interesting and highlighted. So you can ignore those or pay more attention, whichever you prefer. Here is that breakdown again of, you have a relatively low number of older people who are below the poverty line, but of those 108, almost all of them are women. So again, if you are going to be focused on something that impacts, older people who have less financial resources, focusing on older women is probably a good place to start. We also have included the labor force participation rate. Again, we sort of talk about working age as being 18 to 64, but knowing that people work long past age 64. So here are the breakdowns. You've got 27% of your 60 to 64-year-olds are still working, 10% past age 65 and 2.5% past age 75. The third section here is on housing. So this includes those numbers from the slide deck on who's living alone. Same thing about income. The majority of older people who live alone are women. So older women are living alone and they have less money, and they live longer than men. We didn't include life expectancy in these dashboards, but maybe we should. We did include the median income, though, of older men and women living alone. So I want to spend a moment on this one. I'm going to just highlight this all the way across. So again, the closest number here is for Millinocket, the middle is for Penobscot County, and over here is Maine. So you can see across the board, older women are living on less money than older men, but the gap in your community is particularly high. And again, this is probably because of some of those pensions and that higher retirement income. So all the story here is sort of layering that older women have less resources than older men. The next chunk here is sort of who people live with. Do they own their house? Do they not own their house? How much of their income are they spending on their house? Median home values in Millinocket are quite a bit lower than the surrounding area. And then down here is that data on how old the housing stock is. So this HHLD means householder, 65 and older householder. Age of the house is 30 or more years, and this is for owner or renter occupied. So 97% of people over the age of 65, householders over the age of 65 live in a house that's at least 30 years old. Almost all of those also live in a house that's over 50 years old. So probably no surprise to you guys that the housing stock is old, but these numbers are pretty high.
Ms. Rourke,
go ahead.
Second? I'm sorry, but in an effort to move the meeting along, and I'm trying to say this without being rude at all, it's all very good information, but most of these presentations last between 15 and 20 minutes. We're already at the 35-minute mark, so if there was some way to kind of expedite, because we do have another presentation and a host of orders to get to. If there was some way to get it done in the next 5 minutes, that would be great.
Yep. Brief chunk here on heating fuel, section on food insecurity. This is not as. Yep.
How about if we only have 5 minutes, how about if you stop and I'll just make some sense for a second and we'll be done. Does that work for you? Is there another?
I'll put these documents in the chat.
Yeah, that's great. So sorry about that, and definitely don't want to hold you up for your the rest of your presentation and work. So I'm Jess Mauer, I'm the Executive Director of the Maine Council on Aging, and thank you so much for having us here tonight. And hopefully some of that data was useful to you. Just want to, sort of say, when we looked at this data, and every community, I think, as Effie has said, is different, and the folks on your task force have had an opportunity to see that the data from the other communities that we're working with, and some of these are starkly different, and some have some real consistencies, particularly the rural communities, very rural communities like Millinocket and Eastport. One of the things that we look at when we look at the data, particularly Effie was just mentioning, related to the number of older women who are living alone, which is about 9% of your entire population, are older women who live alone. And when we look at that data spreadsheet, the income spreadsheet that she showed you around the Elder Economic Security Index, more than 50% of the women who live alone don't have enough money to meet their basic needs. And one of the things or strategies that we often look to are to say the lowest hanging fruit is the most important thing you start with. And the lowest hanging fruit for your community is that you have a whole bunch. We can just look at your data and say, you have hundreds of people, probably mostly women, but hundreds of people in your community who qualify, who will actually qualify for a number of existing benefits that will put money in their pocket if we can get them to sign up for those benefits, which would mean, and particularly for the Medicare Savings Program, which is mostly paid for by the federal government, which is terrific, puts about $6,000 in somebody's pocket. Now, if you can imagine, right, being at $20,000, $21,000, and getting a benefit of $3,000, that's a huge difference, right? If you're at 24,000, and if you're at 17,000 and you get a benefit of 6,000, getting up to 23,000, big difference. So that is, one of the strategies we've been talking about is sort of like, how do we make sure that we get some really good opportunities for your community to learn, for older people in your community to learn about the benefits that exist, and help them sort of overcome the barriers to resistance to applying for those programs. So I'll turn things over to you, Jane, for anything else you might want to say in terms of strategy, and then we could be done.
Yeah. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Effie. And thank you, Larry. I just want people to know that part of our agreement with you folks is that we are going to create an action plan around the data. And what you just spoke of, some of those strategies, we're working on that, and those will be in the action plan. So that will be done at the committee level. So we can bring back some of that work to the council as well. So thank you. And I'm going to take responsibility for the time limit. I did not give them a time limit, Chairman. So this is just such great information, and I know I live it all the time. And so my apologies to the group for not passing that information on. And all the presentation, the manager has it. I'm sure he'll post it to the website as well, as far as the data. So thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you, Jane. And thank you for everybody from M-Dash. And I'm going to turn it over to the rest of the council for comments or questions, and then we'll head down to the public. Just wanted to be respectful to the other participants in the audience here tonight and the other presenters. But I'll just speak first real quickly. Thank you. That was all great information. And I'm sure that Jane and her crew will set up the proper task force, and we're going to take care of it. Hopefully we'll get the information out there. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to council comment or question. Council Bragdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all three for coming tonight. There is some very useful information in there, and I haven't had time to dissect all of it. But the part that really hits home is being in, Upper Maine. The winters here do get harsh, and the transportation piece hits really home for me, for my family. So I definitely agree, and I can't wait to see an action plan based around the transportation issues in the town. So thank you for all that information, and that's the piece that really hits home for me.
Thank you, Council Bragdon. Council's on Zoom. Council Madore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One thing that's never mentioned, and it doesn't come up in data or any reports on this, was the fact when you talk about trying to connect people with getting them signed up for different programs and different things that they may qualify for. Millinocket at one time had an office here for Penquist, which made it easier for older women, retired people, people of, younger people that were below the poverty level to be able to contact and talk with somebody face to face to get themselves signed up for these programs, to know what's going on. When that office closed and people had to go to Lincoln, now you're talking about a whole different ballgame, and the fact that they don't have the transportation or the ability to get to Lincoln to go ahead and sign up, and the offices down there may not be as familiar with the people that are coming from Millinocket area, the Katahdin region. So it's a double-edged sword in the fact that you can't go ahead and throw, and please take this and no criticism whatsoever, but you can't throw a whole bunch of numbers when you've gone ahead and the state agencies that are supposed to be helping to take care of you or to offer you assistance or whatever have deserted you. And in some way, shape, or form, Penquist has deserted the Millinocket, town of Millinocket and East Millinocket and Medway to be able to have a facility where they could sign up for these these benefits or see what they qualify for, or just simply get assistance. And that makes it very, very difficult. So yeah, the numbers are sad. There are issues that the municipality, I agree that transportation is one thing that the municipality should look for or look at, whether it be a shuttle bus or whatever to move people around to different areas or something that the town may own, or a service the town may be able to provide. But as far as the rest of it is concerned, until the state stops going ahead and nickel and diming towns and rural areas like ours and taking away the offices and the people that are there to help, it's never going to get any better. I don't care what you have. With that, I'll say thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Medora. Any other councilor via Zoom? Seeing none, I'm going to move to Council Bragdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bouncing off Councilor Medora, he raises a very good point. Our demographic is very old, and some of the work that I do is based around computers. I know that Penquist and many other organizations have gone to a virtual system where you can sign up online for these programs. A lot of the clients that I deal with on a day-to-day basis are not comfortable using a computer to sign up for those programs. So that raises a very good point. When there was an office in town, it made it easy to drive down and express their concerns, and it's very hard to do that over a screen where you're not actually communicating with somebody. So I want to point out that Councilor Medora's comment is also very, very close to home with the citizens here in town. Thank you.
Any other council comment? Council Danforth.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to mention that some of the work of Mobilize Katahdin, there's a resource navigator, and that person is in place for that reason. And also the library is working a lot, has a lot of programs around digital literacy and are trying to help people who need help with computers. So we do have programs in place. People don't know about them, or people, I say that, there's more people could know more about them. And so that's part of the work that we're going to figure out. I'm also on a board for Penquist, and I'm going to share some of your concerns. I'll bring that forward, and I have mentioned and have asked for them to come and hold some office hours, so to speak, whether at the town office or in the library. They're open to that. I'm sure it had to do with funding and some different things internally, how they're organized. But and around the transportation piece, through Mobilize Katahdin, we've tried to start a volunteer transportation program. We can't get anybody at this point to volunteer to drive. There's like 2 or 3 drivers, and I know COVID put a kibosh to that, and we're trying to start that back up. But there's lots of work, and I'm just hearing this, from some of the people that I know, that they don't know about these programs. So we've got a lot more work to do in the community to get the word out about what we do have for resources. So it's been enlightening for me to hear some of this tonight too. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Danforth. Seeing no other council comment, is there anything? Council Medora?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. And Councilor Bragdon is absolutely right. When you're dealing with the elderly, which I am, basically qualifying under your terms, I'm 67 years old. But when you're dealing with the elderly, people of age like to go ahead and they don't really talk to a computer screen, or they don't deal with that. They like to see a face in front of them. They like to know that somebody is actually listening to them, that they can communicate with. That one-to-one or one-on-one dialogue has been lost so fast in this modern age. I also want to point out that a former governor of the state of Maine, who shall be nameless, was also one who, by going ahead and cutting programs and cutting spending and cutting things for this, really created more of a problem for the elderly than anybody could first realize. And it is sad that now everything is going to have to be backtracked back to the previous levels of service for people of age, or people below the poverty line. I just think that it needs to be, or it should be, whether it's at the library or where it could be, there needs to be an advocate, somebody that have a one-to-one, make an appointment, go in, talk to them, see what they qualify for, see what they have, and know that somebody is there, that they listen to them and they can communicate with directly. And with that, I'll say thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Madore. Councilor Bragdon, last round of council comments, please.
Just to add on, I won't dive into higher politics, but I do want to point out that the comments on computer illiteracy, a lot of the older generation in town have that older mindset that Councilor Madore mentioned, that they don't want to learn. A lot of the clients that I have don't even have computers, or have basic cell phones. They don't want to learn computers. They want to have that one-on-one face interaction. They even have troubles trying to do it over the phone. So I agree with Councilor Madore that having an office in town or an individual in town to sign them up for those programs, it seems like the better option, but I will leave it at that until an action plan is in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Sometimes we got to take the high road. Anything down from the public?
I'm Sandy Sullivan. Sandy Sullivan, 104 Sunset Drive. And Mr. Bragdon, sometimes it's not a question of they don't want to learn. My husband is 80. We did not grow up with computers. The 21-year-old isn't afraid to go on a computer. An 80-year-old sometimes is, when they have to go in and fill out forms. They need someone in front of them to help them. They're not going to do it themselves. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may respond.
All right, Councilor Bragdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sandy, I wasn't referring to the entire populace of Millinocket. I was referring to people that I have met in my day-to-day life. I'm not saying there aren't people who are willing to learn. I am simply stating what I have observed. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Going once, going twice. Excellent. Well, thank you very much to our presentation, M-Dash people. Thank you very much for coming, and we welcome all the information and hope to hear from you guys again soon. I'm sure Jane and Mr. Pelletier will keep us in the loop of what's going on. With that, I'd like to move to the next presenters. Dr. Shelley Lane, Superintendent of Schools, and Business Manager Josh Deacon on the school budget and general updates. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
There can only be one.
All right, good, all right, okay. Thank you very much for inviting us to share an informal conversation with you folks today. Mr. Deacon and I met with Mr. Jameson a while ago, and he suggested that perhaps we meet with you and just kind of give you an update on some of the things that were going on in school. So I'm going to let Mr. Deacon start first, and then he's got some of the financial information, and then got a few stories to add on to it.
And please, just for, sorry to interrupt, for the interest of all involved, 15 to 20 minutes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so I just have a few
points to touch on, and then I'll get into the actual numbers. The minimum wage in the state of Maine is increasing next month to $13.80. We have a few staff members that are currently below that threshold, but we've worked with the local union and created an MOA to adjust that. And we are all set to go January 1st with those new rates. I have recently opened the ESSER 3 grant and received word as of today that it is all set for me to begin my rewrite. Once the rewrite is complete, it'll take about 2 to 3 weeks for review. And during this time, no invoicing can be done. We currently have no invoices in the pipeline, so nothing should be held up any longer than it should. The FY23 local entitlement and Title I applications have been submitted. I've worked with Ms. PV throughout the last couple of months to get those in. The audit is still underway. I've been working with Ron Smith on any inquiries he may have had in regards to our financials. The firm have assured us that we will have a complete draft by the end of the month, so we won't have to file, excuse me, file for an extension. Initial FY24 budget meetings have already started. I will be sending out the spreadsheets to all of the department heads by the end of the week to get their input on next month. Myself and Dr. Lane have created a timeline that we are comfortable with on creating this budget and getting it to the council sooner rather than later. Our FY23 budget and first quarter financials have been reviewed and accepted by the DOE, so this is good news. Second quarter will be submitted at the end of the month. So to get on to actual dollars, so far, the school department has taken in $1.288 million. This is against our projected budget of $7.59 million. We are not in any way behind on receiving our finances. Everything is coming in as it should. Just some months are more, you receive more reimbursement than others. As of this moment, we have expended $2.597 million against our $7.59 million budget. Total, this is 34.2% of our entire budget, leaving us with 65.8% left of the budget against the 54% remaining in the fiscal year. So we are still very much on track.
All right, thank you, Mr. Deacon. So I guess I'd start with the fact that for those of you who don't know me, I actually grew up just up the road. Takes about an hour to get here from the Mount Chase area. And I went to school at the University of Maine at Orono and the University of Tucson. And so it has this type of rural environment is exactly what I'm used to. So to work here in your school is really truly a delight. My general philosophy is that good administration stands behind and stands with and supports the programs that need to be done. And Carl Glickman, somebody that I read a lot of, believes that it's like glue. So if you imagine that glue holds things together, but when it's dry, you can't see it. That's my personal philosophy. Since I've been in Millinocket, today I think is my day number 54. We've been hard at work getting a lot of things done. We've done a lot of policy review. We're looking at updating the general policies for our system, but then also the school policies that reflect and relate to those. We've got committees working on those. We're working on building and mending relationships with folks in the town. And I've had a lot of people knock on the door and invite them for conversations. And it's been a delight to meet a lot of you, some of you in this room. And there's a lot of good things happening in Millinocket, and it is coming over to the school as well. We've developed many new working groups. We have some regular and routine meetings looking at things like strategic planning. As Mr. Deacon said, we've got our budget timeline all set and we've moved everything up by about a month. So there's a lot of things in a short amount of time. We're looking at tightening up paperwork, procedures, paper trails. Also looking at communication, and if you haven't received the announcement once a month from the central office, and you could get that by calling the school and getting your name on the list. Gives you a little bit of the highlights, things going on at Granite, going on at Stearns, going on in the fiscal point. I put that out yesterday. So you're welcome to listen to those things. And one goal that I have here for the Millinocket schools is to build leadership capacity. You have a lot of really good people, really strong skills, and we need to highlight them and let them use their ideas to move the school forward. All of those things said, we're looking at the mission statement and we're making our decisions based on that. Mission statements don't generally change. The goals and the visions underneath them can meet the standards of where we are to help us get to where we need to go. Couple conversations I've had with the staff so far is our goal is to take our pre-K students and all the way up through our high school students and celebrate with them as they march across the stage, as we launch them off into careers, jobs, military, whatever it is that they choose to do. So our job is to get those kids safely and efficiently through that whole span so that they can be launched off into their lives. And with that said, we thank you for the opportunity to come talk with you today, and we look forward to continued meetings and conversations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deacon and Doctor. To the council, any comment or questions via Zoom? Is that you, Mr. Higgins? Council Bador? Council Danforth? Council Bador?
You're muted.
That's not a bad thing. Council Bador?
Yes, I would yield to Councilor Pelletier, who's had his hand up religiously trying to go ahead and get in there, and I'd like to see him get a chance to get first crack at this.
Gotcha. Council Pelletier.
Well, thank you. Josh, you mentioned your expenditures were your receipts were like a little over $1 million on $7 million budget. And that expenditures now were like $2 million. So is the difference really the cash flow that you're getting our reserve? Or is that something else?
Councilor Pelletier, our budget flows through the cash flow. So it's not always going to be a one-to-one. Certain reimbursements come at different points in the year, such as the EUT I bill quarterly. So second quarter hasn't been billed yet. It's just a matter of where things fall in the cycle.
I guess the clarification I was looking for is the excess expenditure over your income is our cash flow.
Correct.
That's all I want. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Pelletier. Council Bador?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that presentation by both of you tonight. It's refreshing to feel comfortable hearing the status of the school, and I feel that the leadership is on the right course. Having met our superintendent during the veterans ceremony at the high school, again, very easy to communicate with. I feel that the information that's coming out of the school is positive. The budget information that Josh has shared with us tonight, I think is positive in the responsibility of how that budget is being handled. And I look forward to doing more of these, because I think that one of the big issues is the communication between the council and the school department, whether it be the school board, the superintendent, or whoever. I think these lines of communication have to be open, they have to be nurtured, and they have to be brought with, I think it just makes our community stronger. So thank you very much for being here tonight. Thank you for your presentation. And I look forward to more of these type of presentations in the future. And maybe just eventually, Miss, I could meet with the superintendent on a one-to-one basis and have a discussion like I've done with several of the past superintendents. And basically try to go ahead and see if we're of a like mind. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Orr, Councilman Bragdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've had several conversations with both of you that have gone fantastic, and I want to thank you for coming tonight. I hope this relationship continues to grow between the town and the school. I know it got rocky there for a little while, but I think it's going fantastic right now. So thank you both for all your hard work.
Thank you, Council Bragdon. Any other council comment? I'm just gonna share that, I welcome both of you as well. I'm new to the council and we're new chairman. So, it's encouraging, all the kind words that everybody's saying, and, hopefully fruitful situations. I hear raves about you already from the school board and from your staff and from the other counselors, and can't wait to meet you in person myself and have a conversation. So, with that, we're gonna move down to the public. Public have anything to say on the presentation? Being none. Thank you very much.
Very welcome.
Moving to the manager's report, Mr. Manager.
On board. I guess. It was in it and it wasn't on your treasurer.
We did the minutes already.
Or the 11th. And approval of the minutes.
We already approved.
We did the minutes already.
311's at the end of the agenda.
We did the resolves after the minutes. And then I went into special presentations.
After Council Pelletier fast forwards to catch up with the rest of us, we'll do the town manager's report.
So we did 311 as well.
311's at the end. Directly after 310.
Just before 3:12,
There is no.
not yet.
Next meeting.
Continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I just have a few bullet points to talk about, and then I will do a similar recap of our finances. We plan to do these budget year-to-date updates coherent with the school. You'll get financial updates from both the school and the town administration quarterly from here on out. So the Millinocket Dog Park, with the weather the way it has been recently, the deck fencing was able to jump ahead on getting that project going. So they were here in Millinocket this week, installing the fencing for the new dog park. This is the same company that recently replaced the gate at our wastewater treatment facility after it was struck by a vehicle. They've been great to work with. So we're still finalizing the sign containing the rules and the disclaimers around the dog park, as well as we'll be adding a pet waste receptacle, stocked with bags for everyone to take advantage of, and certainly encourage them to use those. We also we have found some unspent CDBG funds that can go towards adding signage for the dog park to our way signing theme that's been installed through town. So we'll be able to add several signs in that same cohesive theme, and pointing visitors and locals alike to the location, which is at the Little Italy Playground. So we do It's likely, they've not installed the gates yet. There's still a little bit more work to go over there. But it's likely that we'll be able to get some use, maybe it's brief, but before the winter hunkers us down. But we do ask that everyone please respect the process and allow the work to be completed. Wait for an official announcement, so that we can get in and start using that dog park. I know I'm pretty excited myself. Tuck and Iko will probably spend a fair amount of time over there. I just offer huge thanks to the Community Initiative Director, Sustainability Committee, and the Town Council for their work in allowing the project to come to life. Very happy to see it happening. The conversation's been going on for several years, so glad to see that come to fruition. The Community Resiliency Grant, we have received the official word this past Friday that Millinocket's application for funding from the Maine Resiliency Partnership was approved. So we have been awarded $50,000 that will pay for the purchase and installation of heat pumps for municipally owned buildings. This will be done at no cost to the town and provide a noticeable positive impact on our municipal budget moving forward with the energy costs, and both electricity and heating fuel will be affected by that. Very excited to see those differences. The original plan for these funds had to be adapted due to an oversight in the spending stipulations. We disagree with that ruling, and others involved professionally in that process are unable to find anything to support that ruling, but we have learned from it, and we're already taking the next steps. This is a program. Let me back up a second. This is a program that we've talked about at council meetings several times, but we can apply twice a year for an extended period of time. We can get up to $100,000 a year from this program until the funds run out. So we'll be applying again in the spring, and the intent with that is to use what we've learned from this process throughout the fall to revise that plan, do it a little more creatively, and be able to provide that heat pump installation service to community members and local businesses. So that's something that we are hopeful we can still provide in the spring. This $50,000 grant was Amber's first major grant award as Millinocket's Community Initiatives Director. She's been with us a little over 6 months now, and to receive a grant award in that amount of time when you're new to the field is pretty impressive. So congratulations to her on that work and the dedication to the position. And I'm certain we'll have more good news to celebrate in the coming days. Millinocket will have a new full-time code enforcement officer for the first time in probably 30 years. And this is something I am just absolutely jumping out of my shoes excited about. His name is Chris Beyer. He lives in the northern part of the Katahdin region, and joins us already certified as code enforcement officer, as well as licensed plumbing inspector. He has experience doing that in several communities already, so we're very excited that he's joining our team, certified and with experience. The other positive there is that he has a background in law enforcement as a ranger with Baxter State Park and several other impressive items on his resume. Code enforcement, permitting, it's something that's drastically fallen to the wayside in our community over the past couple of decades. But we really feel that we can foster a positive relationship around code enforcement with our community members. It's going to take a couple of key points in education and communication with a steadfast thorough level of work across the board. No sorts of favors or turning, from one side to the other. I'll speak more about the importance of permitting for various projects in home improvement or property improvement through our town at later meetings, but the lack of proper permitting and work that's done without documentation within the town has played a huge role in the discrepancies in our valuation and our tax commitment that went out. The adjustments that needed to take place were in a pretty big part related to the amount of work and improvement in property that's been done over the past couple of decades without documentation or permitting through the town. We don't have record of it, so the value had not been adjusted. So that's very important, and we'll talk a lot more about that in the coming months. A couple of special mentions before I jump into a brief budget overview. I want to offer sincere thanks to Donna Hakes in our community for DIYing and donating our new Penobscot Ave holiday decorations. Beautiful lighted white wreaths that are mounted to the light poles on Penobscot Avenue were donated, were made and donated by Donna out of coat hangers. It's quite a, if you get up close and look at them, they are your average coat hangers from a home. So thank you, Donna. Also, Jamie Perry from our Public Works crew. He had noticed that our new giant beautiful flag over here at the municipal building was showing signs of wear and had torn with the wind. Jamie was really passionate about getting that flag looking sharp and flying high for marathon weekend. So he came and grabbed it on his own time, and local seamstress Patsy Houston was able to perform the repairs and get Old Glory back up there flying high for a marathon weekend of activities. So that was just a really cool initiative that one of our own employees took on their own time, and I was very happy to share that with everybody. I'm going to jump into a little bit of budget review. I am happy to say that everything looks exactly as it should at this point in the year. If the report that we had included in the council packet for the evening included all of the various departments that we have, the budgeted amount, the year-to-date spending, and then the unexpended balance, similar to the way that we present for budget hearings in the spring. I will not be going through line by line, but I'll offer some highlights. General government, which is salaries in my office and associated costs with that. We are pacing at 38% at this point in time. So we have a very healthy balance there. We're looking very favorable for the remainder of the year. We're at month 6 out of 12 of our fiscal year. So we're really looking healthy in that area. There are a few very minor overages, mostly related to postage and the additional inserts that we had put in through mailing out the tax bills and the wastewater bills. We had included some additional pieces in there for information to get to our community members directly. Overall, in that area, these last two sections, tax collecting, elections, registration, town clerks, we are really right around that 40% mark. So everything is looking healthy for the remainder of the year. If you look into the municipal building section, we are really butting up close against building maintenance, and we have a very real need to repair a couple of sections of our roof. One over our elevator in that vestibule. It's been leaking for several years at this point. And the canopy out in the front of the building. I would say it's been 6 months of outreach and phone call after phone call, looking for a roofer that would provide a quote and was licensed to do the work. We finally have those quotes, and I would like to move on them fast, so you may see a request from me soon totaling around $9,000 to repair those roofs. As we are, we've only got about 600 left in that budget line, but they're very, very necessary repairs. The other item in there that's of note, it's a large unspent balance, but that is the heating fuel, and that obviously will get spent up over the next several months when we run into heating season. Some of the expenditures around economic development will fluctuate with the increased funding from Beeline that goes to Cat TV. It'll be a slight increase, a couple $1,000. Everything else is really, healthy and pacing as it should, lingering right around that 40% mark. If we go down to community services, that's where we have hydrant rental, which is just an alarming amount of money that we pay for hydrant rental for the community. It's a necessary. We don't want to be stuck without it, but it's an interesting fact to know that the town of Millinocket pays Maine Water roughly $35,000 a month to have access to that resource. In that same section, we did have some unexpected traffic light repairs. And so we are over from our original budgeted amount there. But again, it's infrastructure, it's public safety, and very well justified. And we had at that time got council approval with some moving of funds. Public Works Administration is running well. We will see some of the wages in the unspent section become spent as we go into the winter months with the overtime and plowing. And as we scroll through the rest of the sections here, there's really just all signs of pacing around that 40% mark. I do want to make note that under the airport business, you'll see when I go over some revenue information in a moment, but we are, the avgas and the jet fuel business that comes through our airport tends to be lucrative for us. You can see we have spent a little over half in each section, so we're a little ahead of that, but we're also pacing really well on revenue for that. That is a product that we buy to resell, and it goes in to help to offset the cost of operating our airport. So in revenues, everything's looking very nice. We have some favorable information on bank investment line under the general government. That is something that we had budgeted at $7,200, and the net at this point is $22,900. So that is healthy and looking very good for us. Another point here is that the main revenue sharing, we included $1.3 million of our allotted $1.5 million from the state into our municipal budget this year. We have already received 60% of that funding. So it's likely that that may come in higher than expected, which is only a good thing. So we did build in that cushion of several $100,000 there, just in case. So, you know, we can certainly make pretty good use of that revenue sharing funds, those revenue sharing funds in the future and in future budget. A point that really kind of surprised me as I was going through these reports is that the building permits under planning and code development in Millinocket has already at 6 months in the year come in at more than twice what we budgeted for revenue. So that means that the messaging is getting out there, and that means that people are pulling permits for the jobs that they are doing more often than they had. We only expected $1,000 from that revenue line. We are at 2,200, and that's pretty pleasing. It's small potatoes in this, you know, scheme of a $7 million budget, but it's a good sign that communication is working. Fun fact: there is one livestock permit that was purchased, $5. That is for my chickens at my house. We have 4 chickens. Their names are Queen Elizabeth, Betty White, Blueberries, and Samantha. I point that out because I think that those 4 chickens are the only permitted chickens in the town of Millinocket, as there is just the one permit on file. There are many households with chickens throughout our town, and we just, maybe it's not known that those permits exist, but I would like to make that known and make sure that we are permitting everything that we can. It's a $5 permit, and it's a very nice CYA for all involved. The other great point in our revenue is that this reflects the first payment from the GNP Economic Development Loan repayment process. That is the economic development loan from that the town had in the name of our Katahdin. So we have received a little over $60,000 towards that loan. And then again, similar to the school, many of these revenue lines come in periodically throughout the year. So you'll see that quite a bit of it is still expected, but we don't see that to be anything that should make anyone nervous. We did also discover that we have an additional roughly $50,000 in CDBG grant funding that was committed for the Veterans Park improvement project that took place this past spring and continued throughout the summer. So we will be looking for an opportunity to spend that $50,000 in relation to the park, so we can bat around some ideas around infrastructure there. You know, in the world today, that's not very much money, but we may be able to make a couple of minor but impactful improvements down there. So we can make that decision anytime between now and June. Final totals out of budgeted proclamation was swapped. Yeah, I'll skip final totals for now. Thank you very much. I'll take questions, comments.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, on that very brief report. And
The bullet points.
I expect your chickens or their offspring to be very delicious. With that, Council Bragdon, do you have anything to add?
Yes, thank you to Donna. She's my neighbor and I love seeing her decorations every year and I'm so happy that she does that for the town. So thank you so much, Donna. Chris, welcome to the team. You have some pretty big jobs ahead of you and I wish you the best of luck. Mr. Manager, your comments on small potatoes do add up, eventually make very big sacks of potatoes. So they do add. As with the roof, do we have, is it gonna be next meeting? We'll be hearing more about this, or you said relatively soon?
Yeah, I'd like to bring that to the council next week. The quote is for spring work, but I would like to be prepared for it well ahead of time.
As with your permitting with your chickens, I think utilizing the mailing system like we've been doing is a great way to get messages out. I'm hoping that the latest messaging that we sent out hopefully gets to citizens about the plumbing issue. And congratulations to Amber on her big win for the town. That's huge. And with the flag, thank you for what was his name again? I didn't catch it. I'm sorry.
Jamie Perry.
Jamie Perry. Thank you, Jamie, for the flag. I'm really big on flag etiquette and I love the fact that you took that on. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Bragdon. Councilors via Zoom, Council Danforth.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Manager, for the positive report. Especially want to congratulate Amber again for getting that first grant under her belt. There'll be many more to come, and I know how exciting that is. And so very fortunate to have her on board and wanted to thank her for that. Of the other thanks and special mentions, again, I think it's always really important, Donna Hakes, but we know she does lots for the community, and I can't wait to get downtown and look at those decorations. Jamie Perry, but he couldn't have done that without Patsy Houston. She does a lot as well as a seamstress. So just all good news. Thank you for your report, and the budget updates were very informative. Thanks.
Thank you, Council Danforth. Any other council comment? Mr. Higgins. Mr. Higgins, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the manager for his report and going through it briefly. And I want to thank everybody that went above and beyond from the town. It says a lot for how much pride they take in the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Council Higgins. Council Medora.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. First and foremost, let's start right from the beginning. I took a ride the other day down to Lilly Playground, where the new fence has been installed for, or almost completed, for the dog park. And it is seamless and it looks good. I think it's going to be the right fit at the right place for a dog park down there. And it doesn't seem to interfere with anything that has to do with the playground. So good job for all who are involved with that. I'm glad to see it up, and we'll look forward to its completion and a sign and all the other things that'll go with it. I'm sure it'll be a great improvement to that playground area. Kudos to Amber for getting her first grant done and accepted. And I look forward to more. I think she is probably one of the most hardworking, enthusiastic, self-motivated, self-driven people. And if you want somebody to be your community initiative director, then I think that she was a great choice, because the more I see of her in the community and her drive and her enthusiasm, the more I feel very good about that position and moving forward. As far as the code enforcement officer, I would like some time after he is here and he's had a chance to settle into his office and everything else, I'd like to have a frank discussion with him on his opinions of our ordinance for junkyards and some of the other ordinances we have that pertain to some of the messes that we have within the community, and whether those ordinances have any teeth to be able to be effectively done, effectively served and taken to court and go through the process. I'd be curious to his thoughts after reading through them, what he thinks. I want to go ahead and also thank Donna Hakes for the wreaths. I saw them the other night. They're beautiful. And I did not realize they were coat hangers. And if that information was not available to you, you would not know that those were not something that was manufactured somewhere. They're very nice and they look beautiful. And thank you very much for those. Jamie Perry, God bless you. Great job in recognizing that flag needed repair, taking the time on his off time to take it down. Thank you, Patsy, for doing the repair work on it and getting it back up, because Patsy Houston, I'm sorry, it really does. It looks great again. And I think things like that need to be mentioned and brought out, and recognizing people in our community who take an initiative to do things on their own for the betterment of the community and how it looks, especially just before the marathon. As far as the budget, Mr. Manager, I am very impressed. The lines look great. The expenditures, everything looks like it's falling into place very well. You've handled the budget very well. Kudos to your staff. Kudos to, the town treasurer and everybody involved. The lines look good. I have a very good feeling about coming in hot toward the end of the budget season in the last 6 months, and not have to worry about, reaching for lines that have been overspent. So great job. Thank you very much for the report. It was very well presented. I look forward to quarterly reports like this more often. Once every quarter, because they really do. They give a feeling of confidence in our manager, the staff, and how they're handling the budget. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll say thank you.
Thank you, Council Madore, and I'll try to keep it brief as well, because I think some of these deserve more than just an echo. So although I do echo my fellow councilors' opinions, I would like to also thank Mr. Perry and Ms. Houston and Donna for their patriotism, and to keep that alive and to show that community service without being asked to is still alive. So that is much appreciated. I am very happy with the manager's decision-making, with the code enforcement officer. That's something that I was very high on, as the experience and the ability to hit the ground running. So I thank him for that decision-making also. And I wasn't involved in it, in the decision-making to bring in Amber, but it looks like she's also pulling her weight and being well-deserved credited for the grants that she's going to be accepting and writing for us. So congratulations to her as well. I think with that, other than the budget, which I think is in my opinion is always going to be a high budget, but thank you for towing the line on that and to making sure that we're not going over what we promised the taxpayers that we were going to go over. So with that, I will go down to the public on.
Can I just add one?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I think I may have glossed over this. In my written report that was submitted, it states that Chris will start in code enforcement next week. That will not happen. There were several things that had popped up since that discussion. Chris will be joining our team on January 3rd.
Thank you, Ms. Manager. And I apologize, Nick, a little bit, because anytime that I hear wire hangers, I have flashbacks to Mommy Dear. So if anybody remembers that, it kind of gave me a moment. So down to the public on the manager's report. Seeing none from the public, back to the council. We're good? All right. All right, we'll rattle these off. Order number 304-2022. Approval of the town warrant for December 8th, 2022. Councilor Danforth, will you please read?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, order number 304-2022, providing for execution of the town warrant for December 8th, 2022. It is ordered that the town warrant for December 8th, 2022 in the amount of $302,835.12 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Danforth, seconded by Councilor Madore.
So I have some heavy hitters. $2,630 for Bernstein, Sure, Sawyer, and Nelson. Those are legal services. $9,975.42 Dysart Service, that's Public Works. $3,995.89 Hoyle, Tanner and Associates, that has to do with the airport grant. $5,997.81 Katahdin Motors, that's the airport plow truck transmission repair. $1,902.58 Maine Technology Group for computer support. $3,898.54, that's to the Municipal Review Committee. $3,678 Pine State Elevator Company, that's in municipal building elevator maintenance. And $260,000, and that's the check in preparation for the upcoming land purchase from the Elks.
Thank you very much, Councilor Danforth. We have discussion from the council. Seeing none, I'd like to go to down to the public. I'm sorry. Ms. Sullivan?
I just wasn't able to hear the last one, the 260,000. What was that for?
Mr. Manager?
That is the check that has been cut in preparation of the land purchase.
Thank you.
Any other comment from the public? Seeing none, back to the council. Seeing none, could I have a roll call vote, please? Council Madore,
Aye.
Council Higgins,
Aye.
Council Danforth,
Aye.
Council Bragdon,
Aye.
Council Pelletier.
Aye.
Chair Dumais is an aye, and that is unanimous. Order number 305-2022, approval of the wastewater warrant for December 8th, 2022. Council Danforth, would you please read?
Yes, order number 305-2022, providing for execution of the wastewater warrant for December 8th, 2022. It is ordered that the wastewater warrant for December 8th, 2022 in the amount of $32,188.78 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion made by Council Danforth, seconded by Council Madore. Any discussion from the council?
There's two heavy hitters, $8,000 Town of Millinocket and $18,101.40 Oliver Associates.
Thank you, Council Danforth. Any other council comment? Down to the public. Seeing none, back to the council. And I'd like to go to a roll call vote, please. Council Madore,
Aye.
Council Higgins,
Aye.
Council Danforth,
Aye.
Council Pelletier,
Aye.
Council Bragdon.
Aye.
Chair Dumais is an aye, and that is unanimous. Moving to order number 306-2022, approval of application for planning board alternate. Council Pelletier, would you please read?
Order number 306-2022, providing for appointment to planning board alternate. It is ordered that Man Runyon is appointed to the planning board alternate seat 5 years. Term to expire December 2027. No planning board currently has one alternate seat vacant. No other applications are on file.
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Council Pelletier, seconded by Council Bragdon. Is it pronounced Megan?
It is, yeah. No, it's okay.
All right. We have council comment. Council Madore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I looked over the application for this position and this person is very qualified, very enthusiastic, and seemed to touch all the right buttons to be on an alternate on our planning board, and I think we're very fortunate to have her. I hope she gets approved tonight, and I'm very, very pleased. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council Madore. Any other council comment? Seeing none down to the public, would you like to speak?
I won't say much.
So just announce yourself and your address, please.
Okay, my name is Megan Runyon and I live at 24 New Hampshire Street. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to do this. I am eager beaver to get started and participate in my community and do my civic duty. So thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Any other council, public comment? Back to the council. Seeing none, let's have a roll call vote, please. Council Madore,
Aye.
Council Higgins,
Aye.
Council Danforth,
Aye.
Council Pelletier,
Aye.
Council Bragg,
Aye.
Council Chairman Dubé, and I do say yay, unanimous.
If I may,
Congratulations.
if I may, just for a moment, come down anytime to the town office and get sworn in. Okay, thank you.
Moving to order number 307-2022, the approval of street and parking lot closures for Christmas and Katan events. Council Bragg, would you please read?
Order number 307-2022, providing for approval of street and parking lot closures for Christmas and Katahdin events. Whereas Christmas and Katahdin events are scheduled to take place on Sunday, December 11th, 2022, and whereas the closure of certain streets and parking lots are necessary for the safety of the participants and spectators, it is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council approves the street closures and parking lot closure on Sunday, December 11th, 2022, schedule as follows. Sunday, December 11th, Christmas to Katahdin Parade will go from Stearns High School with lineup at 10:30 parade to kick off at 11 a.m. We'll go across Second Street to Penobscot Avenue, turn left to proceed to the bandstand. We'll contact the MPD to lead the parade and have officer at the corner of Penobscot Avenue and Central Street. Should not be a need for street closure. 2, close Poplar Street from Penobscot Avenue to Katahdin Avenue on Sunday, December 11th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to allow for wagon rides and pedestrians. 3, close bandstand parking lot on Sunday, December 11th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for activities in parking lot and bandstand.
Second.
Motion made by Council Bragdon, seconded by Council Madore. Council Bragdon, would you please speak to the order?
I'm gonna talk about all the Christmas Katahdin events, the very last order. That way it's not.
Thank you very much. Any other council comment? Seeing none, down to the public. Seeing none, back to the council. And roll call vote, please. Council Madore,
Aye.
Council Higgins,
Aye.
Council Danforth,
Aye.
Pelletier,
Aye.
Council Bragdon,
Aye.
Chairman Dubé, aye, passes unanimous. Order number 308-2022, approval to expend $930 from the events budget. Council Bragdon, please read.
Order number 308-2022, providing for approval to expend $930 from the events budget. Whereas the events committee would like to host 2 movie nights at Stearns High School gym, and whereas $930 is needed to purchase the movie rights to show the films. It is therefore now ordered that the town council approves the expenditure of $930 to purchase the rights to show the films for the movie nights from events budget E1106-7012, leaving a remaining balance of $6,948.00.
Second.
Council Bragdon. Council Madore, seconded. Council Bragdon, would you please speak to this one?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to motion to amend the order to read $480 and whatever the remaining balance is after that.
Amendment, have a second.
Second.
Amended, Council Bragdon, seconded by Council Pelletier. Can we have discussion on the amendment?
So the reason for the amendment is we received some fantastic news about 20 minutes before this council meeting. We have been offered a yearly pass for $480 instead of having to purchase the rights per film, which will save us thousands of dollars if we decide to continue this in the future. Again, it is a yearly pass. We've already, this would have spent $930 on these 2 movies. Plus the Halloween movie would have been over over $1,000. So after we purchase the unlimited pass for the year, we'll be able to host as many movies as we want with this rights company until the end of the year.
So what was the total dollar figure?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So it's $480 for the year.
Okay.
And it's for unlimited showings.
Thank you.
So we just found that out 20 minutes before the meeting. So it was fantastic news to be able to share with everyone, which is the reason for the amendment. The two movies that we will be showing, they're going to be broken up into two parts. We wanted a family-friendly movie and one more centered around young adults and youth. You know, we want to include the teenagers in the local area. There's been a lot of concern that they don't have a lot to do. So for Christmas, we'll be showing Jim Carrey's The Grinch. And after that, we will be showing Uncharted, a new movie that came out either this year or last year. Fantastic movie with Tom Holland. I recommend anybody who hasn't seen it to see it. It's like National Treasures. So we're super happy to continue these events. The last one was very successful. We had about 25 to 35 participants, and we hope to see more this time.
That's on the 31st.
There's going to be two separate dates. The flyers will be coming out. Again, once the rights are purchased, we'll have access to the flyers. So I will hopefully be presenting that at our next council meeting.
Thank you very much. Council discussion on the amendment.
Mr. Manager.
I just wanted to ask a question. I can do that at any point. Now is good. Wonderful. I had a thought while we were listening to the update from the school in regard to their communication platform, which I think could be very helpful in advertising these, to probably increase the turnout from, you know, the last movie to these movies. So I'm wondering if there may be some communication from us to them to see if that announcement could go out through their text messaging.
We're in communication with the school, and I'll actually talk to them about it because it's a great idea. The school's working with us on a lot of these events that deal around movies, that we're doing it strictly there for a reason. But we're actually hoping to get either the senior, junior, or sophomore class involved to be able to sell concessions to benefit their classes for when they graduate. So there's more than one reason we host these movies. It's not only to simply show a movie and bring people down to it, but to support our students at the school too. So there's multiple reasons for these events, and eventually there'll be more, but starting slow, work big.
Thank you very much, Council Bragg and Mr. Manager, for the suggestion. Council comment, Council Danforth?
Yes, a question for Councilor Bragdon. You started to say the dates. Can you remind, do you have the dates set?
I do not know them off the top of my head. Like I said, I will be sending flyers out once they are completely made. One is going to be the eve of New Year's night, which is going to be Uncharted, the Christmas movie. I cannot remember for the life of me. The 21st. So
Thank you.
it's
And
gonna be the 21st and the 31st for those movies.
And where will it be in the auditorium? Do you just have any other details?
It's gonna be in the-
Auditorium, Jim?
It's going to be in the Stearns Gymnasium. There'll be signage posted at the school to direct people.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Council Madore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for the sake of making sure everything is nice and neat and everything, as this order is amended, it should probably go ahead and read, whereas the event committee would like two movie nights at the Stearns High School gym, and whereas $480 is needed to purchase the movie rights to the show the films, it is therefore ordered that the town council approves the expenditure of $480 to purchase the rights to show the films for the movie nights for the budget event from E1106-7012, leaving a remaining balance of $7,398.
I like that train of thought. Thank you, Council Madore.
You're welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Is it proper for that amendment to please reflect all of those changes? Is that good for you?
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So just let the record show that the amendment will show all of those changes that were just suggested.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other Council Higgins?
Yes, great savings there. Great effort on the team. And it's what the community's been looking for. And a great idea from Mr. Manager on utilizing, well, wondering about the utilization of that messaging system.
Thank you, Council Higgins. Well, I'll speak briefly. This may feel a little rushed, but it was a little time constraint. I was part of this events committee meeting. And they actually worked very hard, and very aggressively to get this to fruition. So 2 of these movies could be shown by New Year's. So I commend the events committee and all of its members and all the hard work and diligence that they do. Going forward, you will see better planning and preparation in these going forward. So I thank you very much. So what we're gonna do is move to a roll call vote on the amendment, unless the public has something to say. Going down to the public, seeing none. Roll call vote, please. Council Madore on the amendment.
Aye.
Council Higgins.
Aye.
Council Danforth.
Aye.
Council Pelletier. Council Bragdon.
Abstain.
Thank you, Council Bragdon, and I will vote yes on this. And it passes 5-1 on the amendment, so we're
5-0.
voting on
601,
6-0.
I abstained.
right, so you are the one who has sustained, so that's 6.
I didn't think Council Goldie was present.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yes, my bad.
501.
We're gonna have to go over his numbers again.
I just wanted to reflect the 501.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so going back to the order as amended. Council discussion. Down to the public, seeing none, back to the council as order is amended. Roll call vote, please. Council Madore,
Aye.
Council Higgins,
Aye.
Council Danforth,
Aye.
Council Pelletier. All right. Council Bragdon,
Abstain.
Council Chairman Dume, I will vote yes on this, and it will be 5-0-1. All right. Order number 309 2022 approval to increase the elevator maintenance FY 23 budget. Council Pelletier, could you please read this? Move up 309.
What order was that?
309.
We missed one. 309 is,
Order 309-2022, providing for letter of support for legislation.
yes,
S 4784. Whereas the Trust for Public Lands has requested a letter of support in relation to the Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument Access Act. And whereas the Millinock wishes to offer the attached letter of support for this legislature specifying advocacy for ATV trail and connectivity
Council
between.
Pelletier. Please hold. 309 is actually the letter of support. So. I'm gonna back up. Oh, he was reading.
Yeah,
Mine was all mixed up.
it was originally wrong on the original agenda, so it was fixed.
Okay. 309 is providing for the letter of support then, correct?
Yeah, right.
Thank you. Please continue,
Thank you.
or start over, please, actually.
Oh, thanks a lot. Order 309-2020, fighting for letter of support for legislation. S 4784, whereas the Trust for Public Lands has requested a letter of support in relation to the Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument Access Act. And whereas Millinock wishes to offer the attached letter of support for this legislation specifying advocacy for ATV trail connectivity between Millinock and East Millinock. It is ordered that Millinock Town Council authorizes the town manager and town council chair to sign and submit the attached letter of support to Senator Angus King, Senator Susan Collins, and the members of the Energy and Natural Resources Subcommittee on National Park.
second,
Motion made by Council Pelletier, seconded by Council Madore. Council discussion. Council Madore.
yeah, if all of you recall, the manager reached out to all of us in an email saying that this letter was going to be written, and if we had any thoughts. I sent a response back to the manager about my support for this, as long as we did not lose the hard work that's been done by the local ATV clubs to do a connective trail from Millinocket, East Millinocket. And after reading the manager's letter that he submitted, I think that he pushed all the buttons. I think the language in there is strong, saying the town supports the ATV trails and supports the local snowmobile club, that these two, the southern access to the monument and the ATV trails are both equally important to the town of Millinocket. Both will equally help to support our community. And I've always thought from the beginning of the national monument that a connected line that would bring from Millinocket to the monument and would enable the town of Millinocket to be the service hub that was always proposed originally for the monument, much like we are for Baxter State Park. So I'd like to compliment the manager on his letter, and I will support this order. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Madore, Council Bragdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I 100% support the ATV trail connectivity, and always have. I have issues with the actual act itself and do not support the act. So I'm not in favor of sending a letter in support of it with the connectivity. I just, overall, personally, I don't want to get into a back and forth. I don't support the act as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Bragdon. Any other council comment? Oh, I guess I'll speak. I support, I had a long conversation with the manager in his office and expressed to him my concerns, being a counselor back when with Council Madore, when it was very heated with the national monument or national park, or however it was being presented, and the diversity that it caused within the community, I thought was very damaging. So in an interest not to experience that again, in essence, I support this letter as it stands. I agree with Council Madore that it is very strong. I do not wish to get in any controversy, confusing this with a monument. My personal feeling is if somebody buys a piece of land, they can do what they want with their piece of land. We may not like it, we may not agree with it, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't want it done to me, and I'm sure you wouldn't want it done to you as well. So with that being said, with the inclusion of this strong language, with support for the ATV connectivity and the snowmobilers, I hope that with this letter that they would hold to their agreements, and I would hope that they would hold to their words and commitments and to the legislation as well. So I would, as it stands, be in favor of this letter as well. So with that, I would like to, if there's no other council comment, I will move down to the public. Public? Seeing none, back to the council. I'd like to go to a roll call vote. Council Madore.
Aye.
Council Higgins.
Aye.
Council Danforth.
Aye.
Council Pelletier.
Aye.
Council Bragdon.
Nay.
Chair Dumais is a yes, so it's 5-1. Passes. All right, so now we're on number 310, correct? Yes. Authorize the approval of the increase for elevator maintenance FY23 budget. Council Pelletier, would you please read?
Order 310/2022, providing for approval to increase the elevator maintenance financial year 23 budget. It is ordered that the Millinocket Towns will approve the payment of a fine state elevator invoice for $3,678, as there is not sufficient budget to cover this expenditure. And it is further ordered that the Millinocket Town Council approves increasing the municipal building elevator maintenance financial year 23 budget E0108-1910 from $4,000 to $11,000 This increase will leave an unspent budget of $4,136.65 after payment of the Pine State Elevator invoice.
Okay.
Motion made by Councilor Pelletier, seconded by Councilor Madore. Any council discussion? Seeing none down in the public. Seeing none back to the council, can I get a roll call vote, please? Council Madore,
Aye.
Council Higgins,
Aye.
Council Danforth,
Aye.
Council Pelletier,
Aye.
Council Bragg.
Aye.
Chair Dume is an aye as well, it's unanimous. And for order number 311-2022. Can I please have Council Bragg read to this order?
Order number 311-2022. Providing for approval to expend $300 from the events budget, whereas the events committee has partnered with Stearns Junior Senior High School Art Program to provide free Christmas window art to businesses on Penobscot Avenue. Whereas the events committee wants to purchase / donate $300 to the art program for their help in getting us Christmas art to get to the local businesses to display on Penobscot Avenue for the parade and holiday season. It is therefore now ordered that the town council approves the expenditure of $300 for window art supplies, and it is to be expended from account E1106-7012, leaving a remaining balance of, this isn't with, I don't know.
That's gonna be right.
Yeah, so that's gonna be different than what it currently is.
What was an additional $450?
Yes.
Yes. All right, so do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Council Bragg, seconded by Council Danforth. Council Bragg, speak to the order.
So this order, I'm going to break it up into two parts. This particular order is regarding, we wanted to partner with the art program at the high school, and the plan was for them to paint windows down on Penobscot Ave for the season. Unfortunately, due to timing and participation from students, it was not going to happen in the time frame that was given. So unfortunately, that wasn't going to happen, but they came up with an alternative on actually painting right at the school and delivering us art so we could distribute it to the businesses downtown. The original $300 was to purchase all the supplies to give to the students to go down to the businesses. This particular order is to donate it to the art program in lieu of them helping us out for future endeavors out of good faith. It does say on the back here, regarding committee votes of 502, Tom did speak out about the amount. He was not in favor of $300. He thought it was a little high. The rest of the committee members that were involved in that conversation were pretty much in favor, or did not comment.
Thank you, Council Bragg. Any other council comment? Council Madore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I applaud the events committee for this idea. I think it's a good one. I think the donation to the school for the art department to be used maybe to create artwork during the course of the year for different events in Millinocket is a great idea on Main Street. And I look forward to seeing the artwork along the street. I thoroughly support this.
Thank you, Council Madore. Any other council comment?
Moving on to the second portion, which I was asked to speak on before, was the entire idea of Christmas at Katahdin. One of the committee members brought this idea at the end of October, so there was very, very short time for planning, and we managed to get it done in a very short time period. Again, next year we will plan it a little bit better, but because the idea was so fresh, it was kind of thrown together. We wanted to really create an event that was centered on giving back to the community, which we started with the food drive we did to the local churches leading into this, which is tying in MRH Legacy, the Knights of Columbus, the Red Knights, and building on multiple small events into one major event that's really community based. So it was really tying in a bunch of the community efforts that are already being done and bringing them together into one. Sunday is supposed to be a gorgeous day. It's supposed to be a little chilly, but sun's supposed to be out. It's supposed to be really nice. Santa's coming to town. There's going to be some horse and buggy rides as there was last year. So it's going to be fantastic. And there is going to be a parade, and we encourage anybody who wants to get involved in the parade to please reach out. We're looking for anybody. We want to make this really special for the kids and we want to continue building on this next year. This isn't something that we plan to do once and toss away. We really want to build on it next year, and both MRH and the two community groups that we're working with have expressed interest in continuing this in the future.
Thank you, Council Bragdon. Any other council comment? I'll just tag on to that. Being part of the events committee, I did sit through this last Friday as well. And when we heard from the arts director over at the school, the ability to pivot and change ideas and to still keep it within the same budget framework that we were looking at. I think between the committee and the art director and their students really came together for a good idea right at the last minute. So I'm also in favor of this. So let's go down to the public. Any public comment? Seeing none, back to the council. So that would leave the remaining balance, to my calculations, at $7,098.
That's correct.
That's
Correct.
correct. Thank you. So let's move to a roll call vote. Council Madore,
Aye.
Council Higgins,
Absolutely, aye.
sorry,
Aye.
aye. Council Danforth,
Absolutely.
Aye.
thank you. Council Pelletier,
Aye.
Council Bragdon,
Abstain.
Council Dume, it is 501. All right. Reports and communications. Warrant Committee for December 22nd, 2022, council meeting will be Chair Dume and Council Gottlieb. Once again, I hope everybody at home that's a council member is going to be feeling much better. Chair Committee reports. Council Bragdon,
I'll yield to Councilor Pelletier.
Council Pelletier.
Just that the Charter Review Committee will be meeting on Wednesday, December 21st at 4 p.m. in the town manager's office. And if there's anybody that would wish to apply, please let town manager know. We're looking probably for up to 2 more members. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Pelletier. Council Bragdon.
The events committee will be changing our times. We will still be remaining at the same location. It is still up for discussion. I urge any committee members that want to get involved to come and express when their times would be best served. So we can get the maximum amount of participation from the community. So we will be talking about that at our next meeting, which will be next Friday. And then after that, we'll be changing. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Bragdon. Any other committee? Council Danforth.
Yeah, the next age-friendly committee meeting is December 20th at 3 p.m. at the library and via Zoom. Everything will be posted to the website soon.
Thank you, Council Danforth. Any other chair committees? Seeing none, this is the portion where we're going to move to 2-minute public comment.
Hello, my name is Jason Gardner. I live at 24 New Hampshire Street. As far as the dog park goes, we're both very adamant about the dog park. I had mentioned to Mr. Galib in the past that I'd be happy to donate my time to anything that needs to be done for that. I don't know if you guys are doing like benches or something. I typically work with my hands. I own a masonry business and then I do carpentry and whatnot on the side. So if you have any ideas of benches or anything that you're looking to get done with the dog park, I'd be happy to donate my time. And I'll leave my business contact information and everything. I'll just email it to you guys or to the city. I want to leave that open there.
Did you say free roofing work?
Somebody already got me for that one.
Thank you very much, Jason. Any other?
Yeah,
public comments?
benches are on the list. Several other things, we can probably provide a lot more with
Any other
donated
public
time.
comment?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Campbell?
Jeff Campbell, airport manager, part-time sign maker. I noticed in the part of the budget when you're talking about the sign for the dog park, it unfortunately has not been started yet. Ready to start that sign. We have the materials and everything we need to do that, but vinyl sign material doesn't work good when it's wet. So until things dry up here just a little bit, then we'll get started. Hopefully with the manager's help and maybe. Thank you.
All right, public comment, going once, Scott, going twice. And I get a motion to adjourn.
Don't move.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn by Council Pelletier, second by Council Madore. Have a good night, everybody.
Oh,
Oh, let's move to a vote.
what
Let's
about?
move to a vote. Council Madore,
Aye.
Council Higgins,
Aye.
Council Zanford,
Aye.
Bragdon,
Nay.
Council Pelletier.
Aye. I'm already sitting.
It is a yes. It is 5-1. Thank you. I said it was good. I thought it was all right.